I find you to be one of the most calm and probably one of the most empathetic people that I know. And I've known this about you for a while, but I've been very curious why.
Mm.
And now I feel like I know. Like, you are Taiwanese. You were brought over here. Your parents are immigrants. You grew up on a Navajo reservation, several different places. You are a special needs educator, as well as just an educator. Like, I feel like you've seen so much, and it makes sense to me why you are this very calm and patient and em- empathetic communicator.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I think that I think I've definitely reached that stage in my life where I feel like, yeah, I've seen things and I've done things and I've experienced things that many people would only sort of dream to in their lives. Like, never in my life growing up as a kid on the reservation did I expect to get paid to travel the world and take photos and um, just to be able to see all these places outside of my own home and space where I'm living and growing up. Um, so I feel super fortunate to have experienced all of these things. I think there's a lot of it that has come from, obviously there's, what's naturally in me in terms of like my personality and the way that I act and whatnot. But there's definitely, you know, your your life and your perception of life and people is changed when you are like like both of us, the only one or one of very few of us in a certain place, right? So it wasn't always easy for me as one of the very, very few Asian people growing up on the Navajo reservation. A lot of those experiences, there were a lot of times growing up when I didn't appreciate it. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be there. But I think that certainly shifted and changed my outlook on life and, um, you know, shaped me into who I am, of
Yeah.
course.
How do you feel like that shaped you? Like, what are some of the experiences that you kind of had living there?
Um, I think that, well, it's interesting because on the reservation, if you're not Native American, you're a minority.
Yeah.
So I was able to witness, not even just my own perspective of being Asian on the reservation, because at least honestly, as an Asian person, I still had dark hair. And honestly, like my skin was pretty dark growing up in Arizona.
Hmm.
So I was able to blend in a little bit better, like much
Yeah.
more easily than like the blonde kids, right?
Yeah.
There were white people, not that many, but there were white people on the reservation. And like I said, my mom remarried to a white guy, so he was a teacher at the high school on the reservation. And you just hear all these stories and see it happening firsthand as well. Like, there was racism and discrimination that I experienced growing up on the reservation, but then there was also racism and discrimination that my father experienced as a white man teaching on the reservation. But then you also see that, hey, the people who are sort of the dominant group on the reservation, as soon as they leave the reservation, they're experiencing all this racism and
Yeah.
discrimination. So it's this cycle where nobody's ever, like, it's rare for there to not be a victim in this situation, like in the little bubble that I was in. Like, the way people treat other people is not necessarily because they themselves are bad people. It's because of the situation, the society that they grew up in, and like the circumstances
Yeah.
under which we are all in, right? So I think just kind of recognizing those nuances, even though I'm right now talking about it, maybe I'm not able to enunciate it very well, but I think I had a very different experience um, when it came to race and race relations than most other people I knew. So by the time I graduated from high school and I went to college in LA, I had experienced like such a different sort of like
Childhood.
childhood, and like
Yeah.
everything was just, I don't know, I just had this like such a different perspective on everything, having grown up in a place where, you know, I was a minority, white people were a minority, there was a lot of disadvantage around me, and you know, just feeling like I had to like work extra hard to kind of make my way out of that situation as well. I don't know, that
It's
it's hard. I don't know if I still, even after all these years, can really fully talk about it, or
it's
like
well
not, I mean
it's
like, or explain what I'm trying to say.